Hi, good morning, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Terence Wong from GSMA. So welcome again to join our virtual workshop, or we call it webinar. Today's topic is about 5G revolution, driving industry transformation in APAC and Europe. This is a joint community webinar between APAC and Europe. Thank you again. We have 1.5 hour content. Let's look at the agenda today. So myself and my colleague Joe Gilbert, the technical director from GSMA, heading the Connected Manufacturing and Production Forum. We will together share the first 10 minutes with some update about the latest GSMA work. And then the next speaker will be coming from Thailand, my very good friend, Never Chai, who will talk about 5G development in manufacturing in Thailand. And then my another very good friend, Fadi, coming from Indonesia, Telkomsel. He will talk about 5G on smart warehouse in Indonesia. And then followed by Jason from Verizon. He will talk about private 5G network for container port in Europe. And then we have a very good panel moderated by Joe Gilbert with Wing, the YTL CEO from Malaysia, David O'Brien from Durit Software in Europe, and also Jason will join us again. So welcome to enjoy the webinar. So let's begin. So as I mentioned, I'm based in the region APAC. Actually, I'm heading a APAC 5G industry community, which is a very open platform for all of you who are looking forward to use 5G or already adopt 5G as a pioneer in the region. So welcome to join us as we see a lot of synergy and energy in this region. So this ecosystem already accumulated more than 1,000 organizations in different markets, including government, enterprise, and of course a lot of ecosystem in the end-to-end value chain. So we also have a lot of national alliance formed in different markets to support the local innovation with Innovation Lab, for example. And then we also work with a lot of global industry association, which is very strengthened on manufacturing, automotive, healthcare, or also some of them in public safety, supporting public safety agency to adopt 5G to serve the smart city and public sector. We already have five interest groups. So today we will be more focusing on manufacturing and logistic port transportation interest group. So this is a very open platform. Welcome if you want to contribute a new initiative. You want to work together to raise the profile of the benefit of 5G, reaching out to MNO, enterprise, or government, or different partner. Welcome to join us. We already did a lot of deep dive workshop in different industry and different market. Some of them are virtual, some of them are physical. This information, this video or workshop is already recorded, so you can download it in the community website. Recently, we also published the 2024 8 more new case study from the region, including today we have 3 speakers. We'll talk about their case related to this case study. So it's covering a lot of digital transformation in factory, in warehouse, and please stay tuned to enjoy. So I think the community have a lot of activity along the whole year. So we already did more than 10 activity. So before the end of the year, we have this workshop. And then next week, actually, we are also running a physical digital nation summit in Manila, working with government and mobile operator and also ecosystem. Our purposes is, of course, to engage the industry-wide development of 5G in Manila, in Philippines, bringing all the digital leader together. So if you are in Manila or you are anyway, you are in the region close to very interested, welcome to join us for the next week. So I will pass I will post some information in the chat box, so you can find it out in the chat box. So now let me introduce my colleague, Joe Gilbert, who will talk about the Connected Manufacturing and Production Forum. Over to you, Joe.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Terence. And yeah, it's great to be part of this annual session that we have each year with Terence's brilliant 5G APAC group, which is a fabulous forum and a great source of content and information. So it's great to be here again in November, again this year, to sort of share experiences. So I'm Jo Gilbert, and yeah, I look after the connected manufacturing and production community in the GSMA. So if we can go to the next slide, please, Terence, this will tell you a little bit more about the community. So, oh, sorry, maybe the next one along, actually. So this is a community that brings together mobile network operators, industrial enterprises and the wider ecosystem. And you can just see a couple of the brands there that have joined us over the last year or two. At the moment, we're about 30% operators, just under 30% of the GSMA members and 40% from the wider ecosystem. But actually, from January next year, this is becoming a GSMA member only proposition. So we're welcoming members from beyond the traditional GSMA membership to come and join us as members of the GSMA. So if we can move on to the next slide, please, Terence. So this slide just gives us an indication of what it is that we're trying to achieve as a community. So we have these 5 pillars around trying to understand the needs of the manufacturing sector, identifying innovation and collaboration opportunities for our members, tackling barriers to digital transformation, sharing knowledge and key insights amongst our stakeholders, and then driving relationships and the opportunities to create business together. So if we can move to the next slide, I don't want to spend a lot of time talking about this. So one of the key things that we do is we have quarterly forums where we bring people together. Some of these are online, but also we increasingly have more in-person forums and workshops. And the purpose of that is to help bring together the community to solve problems and work together. And we also host a growing number of manufacturing summits at MWC in Barcelona, Shanghai, Las Vegas, and with the fabulous support of Terence this year in M360 in APAC Korea, which was fabulous. If I can go to the next slide, I think we're kind of wrapping up. Yes, so as well as getting together, we also work on papers to help support the uptake of mobile technologies in the ecosystem and help develop understanding and solve problems together. There's an example here of some of the papers that we've produced in the last 2 years. And also we've got a couple of papers coming up, one on network APIs for manufacturing that's coming next month. And then in March next year, there is a 5G industrial device requirement document that's been produced in collaboration with the terminal steering group at the GSMA. And if I go to the last slide, I think, oh yes, sorry, excuse me, this is actually just showing some of the events that we've got coming up for 2025, which hopefully we may see some of you at. And let me go to the next slide so we can give our speakers all of the speaking time available to them. We have a new forum. Our next forum actually is in December, on December the 9th, and we'll be covering topics including neutral host networks and a global digital transformation survey. Now, I did mention actually that from January, our membership will be for GSMA members only. However, for this last forum of 2025 on the 9th of December, this is actually open to a wider audience. So if you're not a member of the GSMA, or if you are a member of the GSMA and you'd like to be, if you'd like to attend this forum, just please follow the QR link and register, and we'd love to see you there. Okay, so I think that was actually probably my last slide. Yep, fabulous. If you'd like to be part of our community, do get in touch, and we'd really like to have you join us. So thanks for that, Terence, and I'm looking forward to hearing from all of our speakers today.
Yes, thanks, Joe. Next, we will glad to invite Nevachai Kiakokra, Head of the Enterprise Marketing and SME Business Management in AIS, the leading operator in Thailand. Over to you, Nevachai. Let me stop sharing and then you can share your slide.
Thank you very much, Terence. Good morning and good afternoon, everyone. It's my privilege and my honor to be in GSMA activity like this again. My name is Nawachai. I'm from AIS, one of the leading mobile network operator here in Thailand. It's the case that I'm gonna share you today is about the case of MyDear. We call the first 5G fully connected factory in Southeast Asia. I would like to express my thankfulness to MyDear because the content that I going to share sooner, MyDear allow AIS to elaborate and share to the community. The first part of my presentation, I would like to discuss about how AIS address ourselves to the B2B segment. Because I'm from enterprise business of AIS, I would like to explain how 5G ecosystem is an important foundation for AIS to monetize and to serve our enterprise customer. But the later part, the second half, I will explain in detail about our 5G use case with MyDear and our partner, namely China Unicom and Huawei. At AIS, we serve not only our consumer here in Thailand, but we also serve businesses in Thailand, not only Thai businesses, but also multinational company who invest in Thailand. And we position ourselves to be your trusted smart digital partner because we believe that if we have sustainable businesses, Thailand will be more and more sustainable nation. So AIS, we emphasize in at least 5 foundations to serve enterprise segment here in Thailand. The first one is about 5G ecosystem. We believe in co-creation of digital value from 5G, not only our network, but also our partner solution platform, so on and so forth. Secondly, we also serve network and cloud infrastructure for businesses because only network alone, we cannot serve our customer requirement. Most of the customer requirement also ask for edge computing, cloud computing, data center services, and anything that can be integrated to serve them effectively. The third foundation, we also provide AI and data analytics capability to our enterprise customer. Here in Thailand, we are allowed to provide the data analytics from telco data to serve insight for businesses as well. The fourth foundation, we also provide digital platform and API. I will explain in detail later. But our, I would say, ultimate goals and objective, we would like to make the industry transformation happen. We believe that the digital transformation not only wait for telco to serve them, they also wait for the whole ecosystem to fulfill the digital transformation project in our enterprise segment. I would like to go deep down into the first foundation about 5G ecosystem. In Thailand, we started to have 5G in 2020. Unfortunately, that year, the pandemic came to Thailand, but we could not stop to invest for the 5G infrastructure here. So then we consider to focus in at least 3 verticals, namely manufacturing, transportation, and logistics, and smart property, which include retails and also smart city as well. But later on, we also found that public sector also need 5G adoption. And we start to emphasize to focus in public sector as well. And you can notice from this slide that for AIS, we believe that we need to build strong infrastructure of mobile network and private network, edge cloud computing, which is the bottom 2 layers of the pyramid. And we work with our partner to build the top 2 layer of this pyramid, which is horizontal solution and vertical solution. The reason why we need to partner with a player in the ecosystem because we believe that telco alone we don't know everything. We need to understand the customer requirement. We need to learn from domain experts in other verticals or even in the operation technology domain. So we build the infrastructure and the platform in order to make them build their own solution on top of our infrastructure. For the first 2 years, 2020 and 2021, Thailand, we encountered many lockdown periods. So the case of 5G in B2B segment here, mostly about the proof of concept, mostly about the showcase that we would like to test how 5G can enable digital transformation in our focus vertical. So for the first 2 years, there would be a few showcases that we developed with our partner, and we spent the first 2 years to invest in our 5G network coverage, in private network, in Paragon platform, which I'm gonna explain you later how this infrastructure and platform will enable us to go to market faster or even to shorten the time to market for the wireless customer later on. But since 2022 until now, we have commercialized 5G use cases more and more. The case that Khun Terence just mentioned earlier about the award that the case of MyDear, we got the ANO award for the year of 2024. This is the first commercially dedicated 5G private network here in Thailand, and I would explain you deeper about the case of MyDear. But I would like to share you that more and more adoption from wireless vertical here in Thailand started to adopt rapidly since the year of 2022. You can notice from this slide that not only in manufacturing, but we also serve in the oil and gas verticals, transportation vertical like seaport, or even in warehouse, as shown in this slide. Let me share you about the case of MyDear. MyDear is the Chinese air conditioner company who invested the factory in Thailand since 2022. This MyDear factory located in Chonburi, which is about 1.5 hours from Bangkok. And the factory cover more than 200,000 square meters in terms of area, and they have 3 production plants cover more than 160,000 square meters. This factory MyDear designed to invest and bring technology from their Chinese factory to Thailand, and they aim to produce more air conditioner to be served and export to other countries. And they target that the annual production capacity of this factory need to go up to 4 million units. This is the idea, MyDear strategic focus in 4 strategies. The first one, they would like to become the technology leadership, and I think that they already became already. And they also focus in data intelligence driven business, deliver customer experience, and also provide the global breakthrough to the market and channel, which is a key area to serve their global customers. To go deeper in the case of MyDear, this is the first 5G fully connected factory in Southeast Asia, and this is the first 5G dedicated private network that AIS provide in Thailand. And again, AIS, we are not alone to serve this project. We partner with Huawei and China Unicom to implement the dedicated private network with the target of latency at 25 milliseconds, and the bandwidth uplink up to 120 megabit per second, downlink 500 megabit per second, and with the high density access for the IoT devices, there up to 3,000 connectivity per square meter. Before I explain more about the case, I would like to share a short video clip about the My Dear Factory. Please accept my apology that this video is dubbed in Thai language, but we also have the English subtitle for you at the bottom of the video.
Chai, we don't hear the sound, but is it okay? We just see the words, right?
Oh, I see. Let me try once again. You can hear the sound, right?
No.
Sorry, accept my apology. Let me try to share once again.
Remember to click the sound when you share. There's a button to share the sound as well.
Accept my apology. Wait a moment.
So just remind, if the audience, you have a question to Chai or upcoming other speaker, you can put the question in the Q&A box just next to the share button, just next to the chat box. And then they will try to reply after the presentation done.
Lawrence, I cannot enable the sound sharing in the Zoom. So maybe I proceed and I will narrate about
sure.
the case.
Okay, go ahead, please.
Again, this is the My Dear Factory in Chonburi. This is the Greenfield Factory 1 นะครับ They started to invest in 2020. And from the beginning of this project, My Dear asked for 5G dedicated private network. So not only 5G network to be dedicated for the factory, but also user plane function or even multi-access edge computing dedicated for their applications. And there are 4 use cases of 5G in the factory. The first one is 5G AGV. Secondly, this is a 5G AI robotic arm. The third and the fourth use cases are about AI. The first one is about AI inspection. And last but not least is 5G operation room with AI technology as well. They use this AI technology for the quality control of the air conditioner production. I would like to express my thankfulness to My Dear because they are not only the first case of 5G dedicated network that we commercially provide to the factory. They also gave us a warm welcome to the visitor or even other manufacturer to visit their site to learn about how they can adopt 5G in manufacturing. This is the summary of the use case of 5G private network in my factory. The dedicated private network cover 160 square meter because they have three plants in the factory. And we also provide network slicing implementation because you notice in the video that there are 4 use cases in the factory, and we do need to provide network slicing to support various automated solution use cases in the factory. And last but not least, I also mentioned earlier that we also provide dedicated UPF and MEC user plane function and multi-access edge computing to support their critical application to be computed and store very securely and manage with certain level of manageability and reliability. This is the result of the 5G use cases in the factory. In terms of logistic management and control, they can lower the cost of labor by 21% and gain the higher efficiency of 55%. In terms of automation and control, they lower the risk of the operator who control the robotic arm because the robotic arm can be remotely controlled and they have less accident and improve the efficiency or productivity of the controller. And for the quality control management, they can detect the defected in air conditioner with higher detection of 99.5% more accuracy, and also the efficiency increased 80%. This is the result that Media also shared to us. In terms of operation efficiency, order end-to-end improved 20%, production downtime lower 79%. In terms of logistics, labor cost lower 35%. In terms of the defective rate, also lower 68%. And in terms of energy saving, also lower 30%. Media also share this case not only to telco or even our AS customer, but also they also share this case to the community in manufacturing here in Thailand and encourage the manufacturer to consider 5G technology to improve their productivity and also improve their sustainability as well. And again, this case was awarded the Asia Pacific Asia Mobile Award in 2024. We, not only AS, but also Media and China Unicom and Huawei have been recognized as the first 5G fully connected factory use case here in the Southeast Asia. My last slide. AS, we strongly believe in cross collaboration ecosystem. We believe that telco alone, we can serve the customer in terms of 5G network, in terms of connectivity or even a certain level of computing. But we also need to work hand in hand with our partners. We also need to work with hardware and devices vendor, software and application developer, or even system integrator to fully deliver and serve our customer based on the customer requirement. So we have the framework that we need to build 5G ecosystem and co-create value and bring the partner to grow together in the market. This is a lesson learned that I would like to share to this community for the last part. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Nerachai. I think, yes, again, very informative presentation. A lot of very deep dive question to you in the Q&A boxes. Please check and have to respond. I just want to remind all the audience here again, please post your question in the Q&A box because it's very difficult for the presenter to answer you in the chat box. It will fall away very quickly. So please put in the Q&A boxes. Otherwise, we cannot answer you, please. Next, let me introduce the next speaker from Indonesia, Telkomsel. He's going to present you about 5G smart warehouse transformation in Indonesia. Fethi Hamansili, the GM from the Enterprise Solution Management in Telkomsel. Over to you, Fethi.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Terence. Good morning and good afternoon, everyone. Next, Terence, thank you for this opportunity to have a sharing session about what happening in Indonesia, especially on the adoption of the 5G and also the deploying the digital transformation industry in the industrial manufacturing, including also the warehouse. So today, I love to share a bit what we try to deploy and what happening and what is the best practices in Indonesia regarding to the 5G deploying and also the commercial 5G deploying and the use cases of the digital transformation, especially on the industrial manufacturing and also the smart warehouses. Next. So first of all, I would like to share about my background. So I'm coming from the industry. So my expertise is on the digital transformation, especially on the manufacturing, logistic, and also the industrial, mining and oil and gas. So I'm coming from the user perspective, and then it's bring several of the industry in Indonesia to getting the global lighthouse recognition from the World Economic Forum and also supporting the Ministry of Industry as a technical advisors focused on the digital transformation. So it's really relate like what our colleague from ARS, Napachai also share the need of this kind of key technology in the connectivity, especially for 5G, to enablers and accelerate the digital transformation on the country, especially in Indonesia. Next. So we know that I think this is the things that we understand so very well that the 5G use cases now is more and more bringing the benefit, and for different country they are focused on different sector. Indonesia, we have several use cases on the smart manufacturing or the smart factory. One of the largest Japanese OEMs company automotive that they're already enjoying the benefit of the 5G on their use cases in the manufacturing itself. And we have done some trial for the drones, surveillance use cases, a smart city, smart surveillance, remote surgery for the healthcare. Also, 2-3 hospital in Indonesia, we did some try and also piloting for the remote surgery by several countries engaged with us together with some of the system integrators and the partners of the enterprises to support of these remote surgeries use cases in Indonesia. And of course, for the VR and cloud gaming, the AR security, and of course for the B2C for the home broadband. So today I will focus more on the smart warehouse as the things that Terence and GSMA try to give me to share about what happening and what we are doing, especially focus on the smart warehouse use cases in Indonesia. Next. So, ladies and gentlemen, why? I think this I show also in the chat board just now when Navachai is sharing the presentation, share about the smart manufacturing use cases in Thailand, and it will be the same also the 5G needed in the smart warehouses. And why they require to have this? The first is because of the use case. So it's really depend on the use case itself. I can say to you that it's proven by the end user, the customers. If they require to have a really lower latency, then they require to have this 5G. Or really, they have the use cases that they need to do some slicing, then they really require to have this. And again, the assessment of the use case itself is a core. So the key point to understand more about the use cases on the customers, let's say we talk about the smart warehouse use cases now, it will be depend on how they want to leverage the benefit of this connectivity by the 5G for them. So they talk about the use case. They talk about the augmented reality. They use also the video analytics on their smart warehouse to identify all the things, the value added, non-value added activity of the operators. They use this to connect the autonomous robot, the AMR, the automatic mobile robots, or the AGV on their operation and etc. So it's really depend on the use case. And that's the trigger us to use this 5G on their private networks. Next. So after they know about the use cases, we need to see again, and we need to give them also some information and recommendation that the 5G itself is not only they can enjoy it on their production process. Let's say they are fully manufacturing process, or they are fully only specific on the warehouse providers, industry, enterprises. So normally we talk to them that on this ecosystem of the manufacturing or industrial manufacturing or the warehouses, they can see also an opportunity to use and to benefit on their digital transformation since the R&D or marketing, the production process, or manage their distribution, or manage their warehouse management, or even their customers experience, and also their manage the sales operation. I give you one example. If they talk about the customer experience, some of them they want to do the remote assistant. Some of them they want to do the virtual assistant. Some of them they want to do the live streaming to look what is the happening on their existing process, either it's warehouse or either it's the process on the production manufacturing. Some critical process that they require to have this kind of the remote or virtual assistant or remote or virtual streaming, and they require to have a lot of the low latency concern on that point, then it's gonna be a part of the use cases of this 5G private network on their enterprises. So that's where we can look on opportunity. The integrate system can giving the better visibility and the fast decision on the journey of their digital transformation on the enterprise customers. That what we have. Next. Another point that I would like to share is, I think it's our colleague Navachai is mentioned about that. When we talk about the manufacturing, when we talk about the warehouse itself, before I go specifically on the warehouse and the use cases, what happening in Indonesia. So the key use cases, like what we said, it's a part of the Industry 4.0 technology or the emerging technology. Now, a lot of people talk about the AIoT, the artificial intelligence, and also the IoT, the augmented reality itself, the digital twins that we deploy in our customer on the warehouse is the real things that beneficial for the customers. Again, I totally agree with all the question from all the participants today that's saying that why we should have this 5G and what is the reason, what is the comparison. I think that's the things that we can answer by the use cases. And where is the use cases coming from? It will be answering because of the pain point of the customers. So if we can start from the beginning of the point, we need to understand what is the pain point of the customers, and we need to select the right technology, right use cases, and the connectivity. The 5G private network is one of the enablers for this kind of the use cases. Next. So if we talk about the value chains of the industrial itself, the manufacturing or the logistic or the warehouse, we can see that normally what is the expectation is the integrated. What is the expectation of the customer is the feasibility. What is the expectation of the customer is they want to take a decision fast, accurate, and with all the data that they have. So if you can see on this figure now, what I would like to deliver is about the end-to-end the manufacturing or end-to-end of the warehouses or any enterprises or industrial itself. Since the coming from the port side, specific on the warehouse, you can see they're using the touch to talk, they're using the AGV, they're using the WMS, the warehouse management system, they're using the AMR, the automatic mobile, the computer vision with AI on the warehouse to looking on the value added, non-value added, the ergonomic issue on the employee, and etc. So a lot of the use cases, that's a part of the use case. Again, it will be depend on how value added that can give by these use cases to their enterprise, and how and why we can enable all these use cases to make it happen on their enterprise. One of the reason behind is because of the 5G as enables the connectivity on that portion. So this is the case. This is the use cases. If I go on the manufacturing, I think it's a really clear. Our colleague Navachai just now is mentioning about the use case. It's really things that now is needed if they start to make it massive. If they just use it as a piloting on some area, not too much use case on the robotic, not too much use case on the computer vision on the manufacturing or on the warehouse, maybe they don't need. But if they start to have a lot of this kind of the emerging technology adopt on their business process, on their warehouse, I'm sure that they require to have this, especially on this time being on the AI that massively deployed on the enterprises at this moment. Next. So another point that I would like to share, what is the best practices in Indonesia, and when we talk with the enterprise customer, especially on the warehouse enterprise, the manufacturing enterprise, that they also have their own warehouse on their industry. So the first of things, we talk about the connected factory, including their warehouse. The second point, we talk about their quality control, which is the real-time inspection using the AI, computer vision, data-driven to analyze their process. It's required to have the fast decision and utilize a lot of the data from the every single process that they have on their value chain. And what I highlight here is on the supply chains management, which is the smart warehouse. So they start to have already have the ERP, they already have the WMS, the warehouse management system. They start to have the Kanban system. They start to have the autonomous robot on their system, on their warehouse. So how they want to integrate all these things, how they want to manage the slicing of the network, how they want to prioritize which area that very specific and very critical for their process. So that's the things that we create for our customers. And in Sinotrans is one of the enterprise customers, so warehouse providers in Indonesia, that we make for them a private network with some use cases that I will show you the video after this slide. And another point, what I would like to share is typically in Indonesia, the best practices on the return of investment of the implementation, this kind of the digital solution, including the private network 5G, is less than 3 years. Another point is the most of the time when we talk with our end customers, they can get saving operational efficiency at least 7 to 15% on their enterprises business. So let's show the video of the best practices, the smart warehouse 5G, the first private network smart warehouse 5G that we have in Indonesia. Next slide. Yes, we can play the video for this show. Yeah, thanks. We can see also, we can hear also the audio terms. So this is the digital twin system that we deployed on this warehouse. And you can see later on what is the beneficial that they got from this activity that deploying the 5G on their process. And like what I said, they integrated not only the autonomous robot, the computer vision, also all the digitalization that they did on this smart warehouse. They integrated all these kind of things on their dashboard, and it will be by the private network 5G that we deployed on this warehouse. This is the normal process of the warehouse, the auto picking, the put away, the replenishment, and they use some of the AGV, and it's enablers by our private network 5G. So they are integrated computer vision with AI, and also the autonomous guide vehicles or the autonomous robots to talk each other to prioritize what is the task that the robot need to do. So if you see here, the benefit of the 5G smart warehouse, outbounding capacity, the automatic transportation, and etc. It will be improving. So that's the real use cases at the first 5G smart warehouse that we have. Next slide, please, Terence. So that's the first private network 5G what we have in the smart warehouse. So in Indonesia, like what we shared in the beginning, we are not only deploying the 5G on the warehouse, also in the smart manufacturing and the smart mining. We have also several commercial customers that now is enjoying the benefit of the private network 5G on their entity. So the things that what I would like to share again is I think it's very similar with Napachai's share what happening in Thailand also, that the best things that if they can utilize also the edge computing on this private network environmental, so they can getting the high network reliability, the security, the high performance, and of course the capability to support what is the required needed on the customer itself, especially on these use cases that they require to have the localized the AI application on the smart warehouse activity that you show on the video. Next. So the last slide from my point is I would like to share that the first point I shared to everyone just now, that if you want to deploy, you need to identify the pain point. And when we want to deploy this, we talk a lot with end user customer, as is our best practices in Indonesia. We need to set a very clear understanding, the capability and the benefit of this 5G that they can enjoy by deploying this on their entity. The second point is we need to identify how is the architectural design of the network, the model that's suitable on their use cases. And we need to engage with the ecosystem, like what our colleague also mentioning a lot, that for this kind of the use cases, we cannot stay alone. We need to collaborate with a lot of the ecosystem to enable them by the application, by the use cases, by the platform, by the AI software application, and etc. And of course, we need to build the business use cases. We do some piloting. And after that, we're scaling up this and enjoying the benefit of this deployment of the private network 5G on the smart warehouse. So we are really welcoming for all the participants that joined today in this session, especially for the people who stayed in Indonesia. If you want to see, if you want to join to look a very a real physical of this smart warehouse of or the smart manufacturing use cases of the private network 5G, what we deploy in Indonesia, we are really welcome for that. Because I'm coming from industry, I'm always saying seeing is believing. If we look and we see and we know and we ask the end users what is the benefit of these use cases, that's really, really proven for the business. Thank you very much. I return back to you, Terence.
Thank you, Fatty. Very comprehensive explanation about these cases. Yes. So yeah, please connect to Fatty. I already posted the speaker profile in the of the LinkedIn, so you can connect them. So before we move to the panel, let me introduce the last presenter, which is coming from Verizon, Jason Pan, the senior partner. He will talk about scaling private 5G network for ports in Europe. Over to you, Jason.
Thank you, Terence. Good morning, everyone, and thank you for inviting me to come on from a very cold London this morning. It's -1, hence the jacket. But really interesting to see those use cases. Thank you. I've got quite a lot of slides, so I'm going to talk quickly and whiz over a couple, but the slides will be made available, I'm sure, after the session. So yes, good morning again. So I'm going to talk about smart ports. Next slide, Terence, please. Verizon always puts forward a safe harbor statement, so please read that before you read the rest of the slides. But I'm going to tick through the ones I've got to show you today. So next slide, please, which is just a content slide, I think, and then we'll go to the one after that. So it's been a really interesting few weeks, actually. I am not a statistics guy. I normally don't start presentations ever with this sort of stuff, but it's been fascinating to look at the media over the last few weeks. So so 5G, I mean, Verizon, people will know, was the first company to launch 5G in Chicago in 2009, 2019, sorry, just to remind us how recent this industry is. It's really only over the last 5 years, with COVID in the middle, that we've started to see these kinds of use cases develop, these kind of networks go out. So I wouldn't say that the market was mature, but I think we really have seen a change from cutting edge, early adopter networks to much more mature networks where people are getting real value from the network deployment. And you can see a bunch of research organizations there below saying, look at the compounded growth that we now expect from this market through from 2024 to 2037 or 2029. So we're seeing people expect a lot of growth and a lot of value. Next slide, please. So the market size has now rocketed also, along with the estimates of growth. We're looking at a very large international market for private 5G network deployments, like the ones that we're seeing the first deployments of in Thailand and Indonesia. Europe and the US have had a bit of a head start on this, so you would expect to see some of the applications that have been developed in those markets now reach a point where we're able to say, okay, what works? Why does it work? How did it use the network to deliver advantage? Next slide, please. And this is really interesting to me as well. So this is not from so long ago. As you can see, this map references second half of 2024 from what the international community thinks are the next countries to launch private networks, and on what part of the spectrum, which part of the spectrum are they going to use? And APAC does not feature here in a way that I thought that it would. And we've seen already today examples from Thailand and from Indonesia. So I think I'm going to make an appeal to the GSMA that we work together to update this map and put some of the APAC private network deployments on here. And we reference what kind of spectrum is being used, because we've seen the countries in dark red be the first ones to deploy and the first ones to work hard on the use case development. And it'd be great to see the contribution of APAC. Next slide, please. So for port terminals, I want to quickly talk about port terminals. We've only got sort of 10 minutes or so. I wanted to focus initially on what are the key challenges for ports. And so I've listed, I think, the 6 most important up here. Trade volumes are really set to triple internationally. Turnaround times are definitely shortening. The volumes are changing. There's different now international trade routes being developed. So there's a real opportunity to reduce costs with the networks, I think. And with all industrial environments, safety is vital. But we're also seeing a focus now on the reduction of environmental impact. So looking at the carbon footprint of the supply chain as goods move about. And it's going to be vital, I think, for users of the networks to use the network to understand their power performance and understand the carbon footprint of their logistics supply chain. People are going to have to work very hard on the efficiency to reduce that for the benefit of all of us. And of course, predictive analytics, robotics, AI, all of that sort of stuff is vital for that transformation. Next slide, please. So the objectives for the port on the ground then is looking at increasing moves per hour, reducing costs per move. How long is the ship in the berth? How can you roll on, roll off more quickly? And how to evolve to that more sustainable operating model where there's more value more quickly. And it's the system that's really helping you understand how that value is generated, including those associated costs of, keeping your workers safe, no accidents, no fall, slip, trip stuff in the way. Next slide, please. So the big picture, I think, for the digital transformation we're talking about is making that connection. And that came through quite strongly, I think, in some of the earlier presentations. It really, truly is a combination of IT and OT coming together, but having the advantage of things like the pervasive connectivity that the network brings, but also the advanced analytics that the algorithm brings. And I just wanted to give an example quickly, actually, of the new value that's coming from that. Next slide, please. We are seeing absolutely a refinement based on location and team. Sorry, actually, that image isn't displaying quite well on the screen, but hopefully you can read it. It's that relationship between IT, OT, and strategy that is now coming through quite strongly from our customer base. So the historical division between IT and OT is now not there. We're seeing those teams collaborate and cooperate. The strategy team is also involved because the transformation that comes about through the network deployment is really affecting the business overall. And there's a real focus on keeping the business secure as these things happen. And you'll see on the left-hand side, we're also now seeing changes in how people deliver to greenfield or brownfield sites, but also look at how the technology is now affecting their longer-term strategy beyond maybe the initial deployment of the network, which was, say, 1, 2, or 3 years ago. Next slide, please. So I wanted to put this up to say, I think in the mature private 5G markets, we're now seeing people are not talking about the design of this. We're now quite comfortable, quite familiar with the design, though I'll come back to this in a minute. We need to be really, really careful on how the networks are deployed. But we're now seeing the early network deployments start to have real value for customers. The data, if you like, is really starting to flow. And that means there's really good analysis taking place and algorithms being developed, applications being developed to drive more value out of the networks. It's almost as if the first deployments they had 1, 2, 3, maybe critical use cases in mind, but now they're able to add new applications to the network that drive more value and develop more complex algorithms off the back of the digital twin development, or they've got enough data to do advanced modeling with the AI, and they're seeing the benefits of the integration of that automation that we saw on the earlier presentation. So I think a lot of organizations are now in these 3 boxes, and they're returning back to vision and strategy because they're seeing real value. They're then looking for more data and then planning future state automation. But it seems like most of our customers are in the 3 boxes in the middle now. So we're definitely, although not mature, we're definitely not talking about it being early adopter type technology, and people are unsure of the value it's going to deliver. Next slide, please. So what does a container port look like in relation to these developments? Next slide, please. I piled it all together on this slide because we haven't got long to talk today, but I just wanted to focus on some of the things. So the green boxes are what people are looking at, I think, very, very quickly in terms of their operational performance. I've only put 1 yellow box up there, which is regulating flow of goods with traffic optimization. We have that as a use case in the US. And I put only 2 red boxes, I think, to emphasize the point that there are things that we know are possible from the networks, but they possibly won't be delivered for 2 or 3 years. We know the research is going on. But I think what I wanted this slide to say is most of the stuff is ready to go. Most of the applications that are driving value are in place in different locations, but are having value in multiple ways. And it's all to do with the speed of connectivity. It's all to do with the capacity and capability of the network. And it's really interesting to see multiple forms of value being created very quickly now. Next slide, please. So the one example that I wanted to give as a take home, if you like, for people on the call is we talked to one of our customers, a big port, and they said that they took 6 months of the IoT data that was coming through the private network, and they ran it through algorithms that they developed to look at berthing efficiency. So how many ships did they have out at sea? What was the size and shape of the ship that should have been in the berth? How many cranes were deployed? Did they do a good job? And it was fascinating for them. The answer from the algorithm was that over that 6 months of data, yep, they did a pretty good job for 5.5 months. But the algorithm suggested that for 2 or 3 weeks of that 6 months of offloading vessels, it would have done it slightly differently. It would have brought in ships of different sizes on a particular week. It would have deployed the cranes in a different pattern, and it gave them the efficiency uplift from that redeployment. It said you would have made $800,000 more if you'd have used the cranes in a different way, and if you'd have used the berths in a different way. And that to the port was absolutely fascinating. It was something that their human experts had not been able to work out. And this was new advice from the algorithm that was able to give them potential new efficiency and money back in their pocket, efficiency that they had not been able to see before, which I think is a tremendous advantage that we're starting to see from these networks now when we have 6 to 12 months worth of data available. Next slide, please. So our private network solution, it would be wrong of me not to talk about how we do it. So, but I won't spend a lot of time on this. I just want to give you some examples of how we think about how the network should be deployed. Colleagues covered it earlier. You really need to think about the ecosystem, how it's managed, how it's deployed, what capacity your edge servers are they geo-redundant cores, how the network is deployed, indoor and outdoor, what kind of radios you use, what kind of fiber you use. These are complex installations. And so the ecosystem and the skill within the ecosystem that goes to deploy these is absolutely vital. Next slide, please. So we've done a lot of these now. We've done a lot of these globally. I just want to quickly mention in relation to ports. I mean, we probably had 1 or 2 ports globally, 2020, 2021. We would have had 3 or 4 ports in 2022. We've got 11, 12 ports now coming through in 2024. So we are starting to see that rapid growth globally. And we're starting to see that in our competition as well, announcing new logos and new deployments all the time. And next slide, please. So I've got a couple of case studies here. Probably I'm nearly out of time, so I'm going to do this very, very quickly. I'm just going to mention that ABP, Associated British Ports in Southampton, was our first big private network deployment in the UK. We've got a large number coming through over this year. But the reason I mention ABP is because it was our first and really an early adopter. But I'm very pleased to say that ABP have now expanded that network in the UK. And I think that's really what I wanted to finish this conversation on is there is, I think, no better proof of the viability and the success of private networks, no better proof of the value they deliver than a customer coming back and saying, okay, we've had this for a couple of years and we think it was really valuable, so we'd like some more of it now. We've seen the value. We want to put more applications on it. We want to use it to generate more revenue or to deliver more efficiency. Skip next couple of slides, please. And this use case will be available in the pack for people to look at. Skip again, please. I'll just mention quickly that this use case, if anyone's really interested, was mainly focused on the roll-on, roll-off of Tesla vehicles from the vessels at Southampton. And the key use case, initial use case for ABP was being able to scan the vehicles to get as much information as possible from the manufacturer about the vehicle specification and where it had to go. The challenge was to scan that data and make sure that the turnaround time for the port was less than 36 hours, which is something they had never contemplated before. Skip again. And again, please. So as I mentioned, ABP have now expanded that network for more coverage and more power. Skip to next slide, please. And so to finish, I'm just going to mention Virginia International Terminals in the US, which was our first big private 5G network transformational delivery for a big US port. And again, this is public knowledge, so this use case is available online. It involves containers, push-to-talk and handsets for the employees, and also vehicle orchestration. But again, the reason I mentioned this use case again is because Norfolk Terminals, which is the terminal next to Virginia, has just also taken the same Verizon private 5G network for the same benefits that they saw next door from their sister terminal, Virginia. So again, more proof, I think, that globally, if you were thinking you're not sure about whether private 5G networks are beneficial, are useful, are a really important thing to have, I think I can absolutely confirm that they are. And we're seeing great customer uplift in the interest in the power and capacity of these networks. Okay, that's great. I think I'm going to stop there because I think I'm way over time. So thank you very much for your time and attention.
Thanks so much for that, Jason. That was really insightful, and I think great to see the European view and also some US view as well to complement some of the APAC topics that we've seen this morning as well. So hello again, everybody. So I introduced myself at the beginning. If you've joined recently, I'm Jo Gilbert from the GSMA, and I'm going to be moderating the panel session around learning from deploying 5G for driving industry transformation. And I'm delighted to be welcomed. Well, Jason is going to be joining back. So welcome back, Jason, for the panel. And I'm also delighted to be welcoming Wing K Lee from YTL Communications in Malaysia, and David O'Byrne from Druid Software, based in Ireland, but I think covering a European and global footprint. But David, welcome to you as well. And I will be asking Wing and David to introduce their organisations. When I asked the first question, actually, to be as efficient as we can with the time. So welcome to everybody. Great to see you here. So as I've mentioned, we're going to be talking about private networks and the deployments and some of the customer demand that's driving that, and some of the models that we're seeing. And because, you know, we're here for this kind of annual event to bring together perspective of Europe and APAC together in the desire to kind of best practice share and share different perspectives. So let's start. Wing, I'll come to you first, if that's okay. I'm going to ask you the first question, but please do also give a brief intro to YTL Malaysia for those that are not familiar. So can you also provide an example of a private network deployment? We've heard some today from Thailand, from Indonesia, from UK. And can you put it into the perspective of the challenge that the customer was trying to solve, and why they kind of, you know, looked into the route of private networks and went with that?
Sure. It's a pleasure to meet everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. So YTL is a utility-focused conglomerate. We are, in fact, one of the largest non-government link conglomerates in Malaysia. Group started in 1955 with a strong legacy of excellence in terms of infrastructure projects, starting with construction. I had the pleasure to move to Malaysia 15 years ago from the US to help build the first nationwide all 4G all IP network. And just 3 years ago, we were the first to launch 5G in Malaysia, and we've never looked back. Having said that, while we have the telco network license, I never look at our company as a telco company, with all due respect. I told my colleagues that we are a tech company, and we just happen to have a telco license with which we can use to add additional value. So with that said, we have already expanded our business horizon. We'll be launching digital bank in 2 months' time. It's a fully licensed digital banking license from the central bank that we'll be offering very exciting services. We are also investing in data center. We are not merely chasing data center opportunities. We started this journey 4 years ago. We are launching, and we have actually, in fact, launched the largest 500 megawatt, 100% green data center park in Southeast Asia, right here in Malaysia. And with that, we've also launched an initiative, a rather exciting initiative with NVIDIA. I'm sure you heard about this name, to build and launch one of the largest AI cloud in the region with 100 megawatt of build capacity using the latest GB200 chipset. So as you can tell, we are a little bit different from a conventional telco, with all due respect to all my telco friends here. So when it comes to the private network, I think our distinguished speaker just now talked about the various deployment scenarios from Thailand, from Indonesia, from the UK, US, and so on. And I think in Malaysia, we're not that different. We are always looking for ways as a country to grow our digital economy. Now, Malaysia is a different country, obviously, from the countries mentioned just now. We have a strong legacy of electronics and electrical engineering industry background. You might know that Dell has a fairly substantial manufacturing facility in Malaysia. You might also know that Sony, along with the likes of Intel, has a fairly substantial investment in Malaysia. And we are now, thanks to some of the recent year development in terms of geopolitics, we are now blessed with fairly substantial uptake when it comes to semiconductor manufacturing, not to mention data center investment. So I'd like to share with you this evening a quick example of a private 5G deployment in the area of advanced manufacturing. Similar to our friends in Thailand and Indonesia, the local entrepreneurs are always looking for ways to adopt IR 4.0 for the sake of improving efficiency and improving the bottom line and making themselves more competitive. So one of such customers we have, it's called Clarion. Clarion, they are gracious to allow us to use their name publicly, has been in Malaysia for 35 years. It is in the area of automotive engineering, and they do some really amazing projects for our ASEAN friends from Thailand, Indonesia. If you have a Cayenne that is manufactured in the region, the dashboard are actually manufactured at this location at our customer's premise. So that's pretty cool, right? So now our customer, the factory has been around for 35 years, and they've done a lot of good work. But it's safe to say that unlike our friends in Thailand with a brand new factory built from ground up, our customer's factory is actually quite representative of many, many other factories in the region. They've been around for 10 years, 15, 20 years. They don't have the luxury to have a greenfield built from ground up, purpose built with 5G in mind. They have a legacy factory, but they're working very hard to make this factory work well. And that's the opportunity that we have. So with this factory, as I mentioned, they are in the area of automotive electronics. And some context for your understanding. When it comes to automotive electronics, every country has its own set of type approval process, which means that just because it looks the same, every single car navigation system and even your entertainment system may have the same faceplate, but behind the scene, certain components would have to be changed out based upon country level requirements. And that's the challenge that our friend has, whereby they want to make sure that on a SKU by SKU basis, and there are many SKUs for the same model, depends on the country it ships to. They have to make sure that they have very precise handling of the raw materials going into the PCBA, which is the motherboard, the system board for the in-car electronics. So as some of you might have some experience with SMT lines, where they basically solder the entire board, and that board is the heart, right, of all these electronics. So you have all these incoming QCs, all the incoming materials. These are basically components, right? They are chipsets, transistors, and so on. Every one of those come in a reel. I'm sure if you've been to a factory, you've seen a back-end warehouse with lots and lots of reels. They look like those 8mm films, if you understand what I'm saying. And this one reel would have thousands of those components. Every single component could cost 50 cents US, could cost $3 US, could, if it's from a certain company in San Diego, that's $200 US. So you can tell those reels are very, very expensive. And importantly, they have to put the right reel, as I mentioned to you. Depends on the country it gets shipped to. They have to put the right component onto the board so that the board can be fabricated through this machine. So that is what we call the incoming material handling. And that's the part that's very human-driven, error-prone as a result. If you put the wrong reel onto the rack, it goes to the machine, then that batch will have to be written off, right? So you can see that this is a part where human should be removed from the process for the sake of improving efficiency, reducing error rate. So our customers have been introducing this new idea. They wanted to bring forth this idea of having intelligent scanners to scan all these reels. All these reels are uniquely identified and scanned upon arrival. And when the reel gets to the rack, they don't use human to move the rack, the reels from the rack. They actually use robotic arms to move using AGV to take the reel out. And based on the ERP system flow, the robots will know exactly which rack to go to pick up the right reel for the job and put it into the bin. And all the human needs to do is for the human to actually take the reel from the AGV rack, from the AGV bin, and mount the reel onto the machine. So by removing human from the material selection process, material delivery process, they can ensure that every single SMT line will have the right reel, right material at the right time to do the job. As you can see, this is a huge uplift by reducing error rates and improving efficiency. So I just cut a long story short. What matters is the results. So I'm pleased to share with you, and they have given us the permission to share, so I'm glad. They have been able to reduce the human menu error by 100%. They have increased material handling efficiency by 80%. And on top of that, reduced the entire SMT production processing time by 70%. Now, is that not an exciting business case? So I can't disclose more when it comes to financial metrics, but I'm happy to say that they let me say that the payback is 8 months.
Wow. Okay. Fabulous. Thanks, Wing. That's amazing. I mean, 100% error rate. I mean, you can just tell straight away from the impact that that's going to have on the bottom line for an organization. So thank you for that. David, David, please introduce Druid, but also, could you talk to us a little bit about an example deployment and again, what it was that was driving the customer to go for that 5G private network solution?
Yeah, thanks very much, Joe, and thanks to all the other panel members. That's a tough act to follow, Wing Lee. So Druid Software is probably one of the longest standing companies in the private enterprise cellular market space. We started up 20 years ago, developing 2G cores to be deployed on airplanes with Panasonic Aviation, and since that early deployment, we have been refining and expanding the product, following it through the 3GPP generations from 2 into the ill-fated 3, and then 4, and now finally into 5G. And as the capacity of the 3GPP specifications in terms of the spectrum available and the amount of data that they could carry has expanded, so the use cases that we have addressed have grown from the early days when it was really about replacing DECT and adding secure voice into some secure installations and healthcare installations. When 3G came along, the ability to do video on offshore oil and gas. And as we've gone through 4 into 5, we're now into the exciting world of Industry 4.0 and all of the applications that it's possible to deploy on that. We work in a large number of verticals. But the 7 main ones are oil, gas, and energy, manufacturing, obviously, transport and logistics. We do a lot of work at ports and airports and warehouses, healthcare, non-terrestrial networks. We're one of the leaders in the core sector for the non-terrestrial space, which is growing a lot at the moment. It's very exciting. Defense and public safety, and IoT. So we provide a lot of solutions to connected car companies, connected white goods companies, basically anybody who is launching a sort of MVNO for connected goods around the world. We're based, as you said, in Dublin, in Ireland, but we have grown a lot since the early days. We now have offices in the US, in Mumbai, in Taipei, and in Tokyo. And we're looking at opening an office in Brazil later on in 2025. So as the availability of spectrum grows around the world, as the awareness of industry verticals in different regions grows, and as the cost of everything from the radios to the handsets to the chipsets that drive everything comes down, more and more customers in more and more geographic locations are embracing the possibilities of private 5G. And thanks a lot to the work that you guys are doing as well, Joe, in promoting that story with events like this. So that's really important. We're RAN independent. We work with anybody's radio so long as it supports the 3GPP specifications. We were recently certified by Nokia, but we also are one of the leading providers of cores into Open RAN events, and we were one of the key presenters at the Fuse event last week, which is really focused on Open RAN. So I think we've deployed with over 40 different 5G RAN vendors, from proofs of concept to commercial deployment. So whatever RAN the systems integrator or customer wants to use, we're basically there for it.
Flexibility.
So to talk a little bit about the reference customer, the company that I wanted to bring to your attention is a German company called Ziel APAC. It's based in Künzelsau in Baden-Württemberg. And although they only started in 1910, which is relatively recently for a German manufacturing company, they are one of the global leaders in fans, ventilation systems, drive systems for things like elevators and escalators, and control technology for all sorts of industrial applications. So this is a classic B2B2B manufacturing company that sells its goods basically to other people who are also manufacturing things. It's really a classic Mittelstand company, although it now has over 5,000 employees in 15 plants around the world. So it's really grown into being one of the leaders in this space, but it is as industrial as you could get. It is similar to Wing Lee's example. It really is a manufacturer's favorite company. The problems that they wanted to solve were threefold. First of all, generally, they are finding it harder and harder to get staff, especially trained staff. And so increased automation of every aspect of production is an existential challenge for them. They must find ways to deliver more product and more throughput with the same or even declining numbers, as it becomes harder and harder to find people and train them to work in these roles. So generally increasing the quality and availability and uptime of a wireless network across the whole facility. Currently, they were using Wi-Fi in order to support the general increasing of automation of operations. Secondly, they wanted to bring in location management because they felt that having accurate location delivered through the cellular network was key to moving a lot of the warehousing and material transport activities into an autonomous mode away from having to be piloted by humans. And then thirdly, they were looking at the wider challenge of IT-OT convergence and moving away from having separation between layer 2 networks and cellular networks, and having one network that was able to manage everything without all of the hassle of creating lots of VPNs and gateways to try to channel the layer 2 through the cellular network. So where we are is they've managed to replace literally hundreds of Wi-Fi points of presence with less than 10 radios across the whole site. So it has been a significant advantage to them to be able to do that, both in terms of the maintenance, but also over the long term, the cost, because their Wi-Fi solution was due to be swapped out, and replacing all of those hundreds of Wi-Fi points with more modern ones was going to be a substantial cost. And the fact that the expected life of some of those Wi-Fi components would have been 3 or 4 years, maybe 5 years, if we're being very, very generous, compared to a cellular radio solution, which might confidently be able to last twice as long, means that this perceived cost difference between deploying a Wi-Fi network and deploying a cellular network is not as significant as maybe first glance would take you to believe. So people really need to look at not just the 2-year or 3-year total cost of ownership, but the 10-year total cost of ownership. And I think when you start to look at those numbers and realize that the products that we are proposing be brought into the industrial world come from the communications industry and have a legacy there, and in that world, equipment is expected to last an awful long time. So when you put in a radio, you really aren't expecting to be swapping out that radio for a significant amount of time. So total cost of ownership actually surprised them with how narrow the gap was between Wi-Fi and cellular.
Fantastic. Thanks for that, David. And I think one of the things that we do know when we're looking at the industrial manufacturing sector is that period of length of time. In telco, we often think in terms of 6 months, 12 months, but yeah, looking beyond. So I think bringing in total cost of ownership is a real critical factor, and also some real commonalities there with what you talked with what Wing talked about in terms of the efficiencies. And one of the things that I'm seeing more and more, which is hugely heartening, is this, that the business cases are really starting to deliver, and we're starting to see the results. We've really absolutely moved, picking up on Jason, what you said earlier in your presentation, we've really moved from that early adopter phase into more and more organizations starting to see returns. So that's really great. We are really crashing to the end of the time, I'm afraid. So I'm going to go to Jason for the last question, and I'm actually going to slightly go off piece, Jason, and pick up on a question that was asked in the questions Q&A by Benedict. Benedict's asked if we can elaborate on enterprise down spectrum. I think this is something that you picked up on, and obviously it is something that we can look at a global perspective. So I don't know if, just to wrap up, if there's something that you can maybe give a perspective on before we close the session.
Yes, I mean, I can really quickly. I mean, I think you saw that on the world map that I showed. Humans love to do it differently in different nation states, and so we do have different types of release from different governments all over the place, and it would be great if that wasn't true, but it is true. But what I'm more concerned about, I'm less concerned, I think, about how that's managed, and there are subtle differences. I think what I'm really interested in at the moment is the relationship between MNO hybrid or boomer networks, how macro networks are being deployed that don't have the longevity that you were just talking about and David was talking about. I'm really with David. You know, there's massive savings to be made when you're taking out all of those Wi-Fi access points and putting in a handful, 5, 10, 15 radios that can do a much better job, much better speed, much better capacity. But that's not true if you're focusing on, you know, a macro that has very powerful downlink potentially, that's good to go for a couple of years, but doesn't have the uplink that you need for your drones and your robots and your automation. And I'm a little bit worried, actually, because for me, private 5G is incredible. The speed and the capacity and what we can do with it is breathtaking. It really is, you know, a leap forward, not just a few steps forward, it's a leap forward. So let's do it properly, and let's not confuse good small cell proper private 5G deployment with a macro network with good downlink It's only going to be good for push to talk and a couple of other things, and only good for 2 or 3 years. So I would really emphasize the point, you know, plan for longevity, plan for 15, 20 years, good use of this network, because you can get it and you will get it if you do it properly.
Fabulous. Thanks,
Couldn't agree more.
Jason. Oh, wonderful. Thanks, David, as well. So I think really, would it be okay for me to summarize to say, to really think about, as an organization, really understand what your requirements currently are, but how they might evolve, and plan for your requirements and the needs for now and in the future?
Yeah, give us a call. Ask us the questions. Ask us, what's the difference between macro and small cell? Ask us how I can get real value. Assume that these private networks are good. So ask us what you can do with it. Like the use case that I wanted to give, but we don't have time for, is Audi. Audi said to us, look, we know we can go to anyone for a private 5G network, but can you give us use cases in southern Germany where we can test our protocols globally for our vehicles? So the differentiation is now not, can we give you a network that's powerful and has massive data capacity and a small number of radios instead of hundreds of Wi-Fi access points? No, we can all do that. So what's special now? It's the value from the applications that we're going to deliver that's key.
Absolutely. That's absolutely great. I'm so sorry. We are just over time. Thank you so much. I think we could have used the whole 90 minutes just on the panel. I really appreciate it. Thanks for joining us. Thanks everybody for joining us in the audience. Any unanswered questions we will pick up before the session. And as Terence mentioned, this session has been recorded and it will be available after the event for catch up. So thank you very much.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you, Joe.
Thanks a million, Joe. Thanks, guys.
Night.
Thank you, everyone.